Thank you so much, parents, for waiting. We're still waiting on for more parents to join in. In the meantime, here are some things to note for this evening. We have a couple of terms and conditions we'd like you to have a look at, and we'll be sharing screen in just a little bit. So sit tight and hold on. We're starting really soon, yeah? Okay. Hey, it's so good to see you again. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is, of course, the third installment of Build Your Child's Natural Defense, and we've titled it Eat Well, Stay Healthy, and Build Natural Immunity, organized by parents, for parents, and with parents. My name is Lynette, and I'll be with you this evening along with my husband, Jedediah, who will be helping me with the Q&A segment a little later on. In the meantime, if you're new here, we have a Telegram channel, also of the same name, Build Your Child's Natural Defense, and I believe you can scan the QR code on screen, or you can also click on the link in the chat box below to get regular updates on natural remedies and lifestyle interventions. Speaking of which, in our previous installment, we had Dr. Lee from Anon Healthcare who spoke to us about New Start, which is an acronym for nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. Expanding more on nutrition and exercise, plus the latest secrets to immune health, is our special speaker for this evening, Dr. Chia Eng Hock, a scientist, researcher, and wellness coach with a PhD from the Australian National University. Dr. Chia is a dedicated husband, a loving father, and an avid nature adventure athlete. Yep, just have a look at the picture. Wow, he looks so young, right? And he's also an underwater photographer, and looking at these photos, it's honestly quite hard to believe that he used to suffer from a debilitating hand condition and chronic fatigue. And I'll tell you more about Dr. Chia's remarkable turnaround in health and a total rejuvenation and restoration of youthful vitality in just a little bit. But meanwhile, we have with us a parent with an amazing story of how natural immunity played a very vital role in her own recovery and what that means in terms of how she looks at her children's health issues. Over to you, Tammy.
Thank you, Lynette. Yeah, so my name is Tammy, and I have two children. My older boy is 4, and the younger one is 2. She just turned 2 on 2nd Jan. Yeah, so I'm very thankful. I didn't think that I would be able to have kids like just 10 years ago. So in 2010, maybe I will share slides now. In 2010, that was when I was 26. So you know how I am. Wait, sorry. Yeah, so that is my I was found to have a mole. So if you're wondering what's melanoma is, there are a few kind of skin cancer, but melanoma is a very, very aggressive and very deadly skin cancer. So it's on my foot. So not all skin cancer are affected by the sun in that way. Yeah, so it was on my foot, and then it was irregular mole that was very itchy, and it was growing. And I delayed just, I find that it was embarrassing going to the GP to ask about a growing mole. That was what I thought. So I just delayed going to the GP until like I happened to have fever. That's a good reason to go and ask about my mole. And the GP looked very concerned. Like he told me it could be melanoma, and he wrote me a letter to see a doctor. So anyway, by the grace of God, I was able to get an appointment very soon, and the doctor again from a skin center was very concerned when he saw my mole, and he did a biopsy quickly. So shortly after that, things just happened very quickly. I think at 26, I wasn't expecting anything called cancer. So I was going with my backpack and all ready to go to work after the hospital, after the clinic appointment. So lo and behold, it was I need to go for my surgery to remove the primary tumor, and also a second surgery because the cancer has spread to my lymph nodes. Yeah, so for melanoma, it's very aggressive. If it has spread to the lymph nodes, it's stage 3 or stage 4. For mine, it was stage 3C. So I just want to share some of my natural remedies that has helped me. But it's not prescriptive of anyone here who have any kind of illness, because it's not meant to be prescriptive. It's a sharing of my journey. Yeah, how I overcome aggressive cancer through natural means. So honestly, I do not really have a choice, because the doctor told me that for 30 years, chemotherapy has not worked on melanoma. So I was asked to go home and wait, So it's pretty depressive, honestly. And of course, a lot of pain, because there are 80 stitches, on my foot. I have the skin graft, on my groin to my foot. And the doctor did tell me that he do not know if I will walk again. That was just moments before I signed off the form for the surgery. He actually said that he do not know if I'll walk again. Yeah. So anyway, what happened? I was the only option left was to do immunotherapy that I got to jab myself once a day for 1 year, but that will not improve my overall mortality rate, but it will increase or reduce my recurrence rate by 10%. So my recurrence rate then was 80%. To reduce it to 70% with 1 year of jab, and that jab, immunotherapy can bring things like depression and cold and flu, and the risk benefit analysis don't seem to work for me. Yeah, so I just chanced upon a book called Healing Cancer Naturally in Kinokuniya, and I found that there are many people who have recovered through natural means. Yeah, and I just went to the nearest health center that is in Malaysia. Yeah, Dr. Lee was one of the doctors who spoke the last time. So I got to know him and his team. I attended a 20-day cancer better program. It's just very holistic. As if you have heard his previous sharing, if not, you can hear the replay again on New Start, which I'll share a little bit later. So the therapies and the doctors, they have health talks according to your condition. They have they go primarily on a plant-based diet, sleeping early, exercise. Is like by 10 o'clock, lights off. Yeah, whereas generally Singaporeans are not that used to sleeping early, but so it does wonders. And wake up at 6 o'clock to take blood pressure and go on for exercise. Deep breathing. You see that their food are in a tub of water, so there's a lot of hydrotherapy involved. Yeah, because hot cold treatment. Yeah, he talks a little bit about it. Then massage. So there are different ways, and of course a lot of juicing. Some people are worried, like they have not gone without meat for as long as they remember. But a lot of my friends, like even myself, when I was there, I did not really miss meat. They have a lot of cooking classes to make really delicious food. So New Start, don't really have to be organic, but I got a plant-based diet. Because of cancer, usually our bodies are more acidic. Yeah, so we need to go on plant-based that are more alkaline in nature. So some people are worried, do you have enough protein? Do you have enough calcium? So they will joke like, look at the cows and the horses, they are vegans, but they are strong. So anyway, you have to eat the right kind of plant-based. You cannot eat the vegetarian food. There's all kind of coloring and carbo and fried, I don't know, tofu. Yeah, so a lot of legumes, a lot of nuts. Yeah, a lot of raw. How do you increase your raw food? So a lot of vegetable juices, a lot of fruit juices, but eat it the right way. Yeah, so go on a plant-based, and I continued this lifestyle for about 3 to 4 years after, at least. Yeah, so exercise. I think we do not know that when our bodies are stressed, it kind of suppresses our immune system. We tend to fall sick when we do not have enough vitamin D, when we do not get out, for a walk. So even now, my kids, when they have running nose, they know what to say. Oh, mommy, let's get out and get some sun. I'll be fine after that. So my kids are getting it, that we need to get out. So water, sunshine, temperance, do not overeat, not too much of things that are unhealthy. Yeah, rest. So actually I cried. The first time I cried when I have cancer was not because I heard the news that I had cancer. The first time I cried is when my doctor told me you need to take 1 year of sabbatical to just rest. And I feel really worthless, Yeah, that you can imagine like a driven Singaporean women, who just can't wait to get out there and win the world, overcome the world. And resting is so hard. I'm not sure about you, but many friends I know really sleep really, really late and they until they are sick and then they are forced to rest. So as simple as that, it's so healing to the body when you just take time to rest and get out to get the sun. So there are other things I did that I won't share too much. I just want to share two things that have been very drastically helpful to me. Charcoal poultice. Poultice is like a wrap. So this activated charcoal, activated charcoal powder. So besides charcoal tablets that I was taking on a daily basis, charcoal poultice is it put it together like charcoal powder with cornstarch with water. They do a wrap around my cancer tumor. Yeah, so traditional doctors may not believe in it, but it has really helped me a lot. I remember that after my surgery, I have a lump, a very, very hard lump, like a stone on my thigh. So the doctor could not really understand why it's there, but it felt a little bit hot. So he thinks there's an inflammation. So I had antibiotics for 1 month, but the lump was there and it did not go away. So there's nothing the doctor can do. I went to Aiden Healthcare with that lump. So they put charcoal poultice. The next morning, it was gone, completely gone. When I came back to Singapore, the doctor was so shocked, like, how do you get that gone? So I told him that I did charcoal poultice and he couldn't believe me. I told him that I'm going on a plant-based diet. He told me, oh, I eat vegetable chips too. And I got a bag of gastric pills in my car, something like that. Yeah, so not many, I'm not saying that all are not aware, but most doctors are not really trained in nutrition. Yeah. Another thing about salt scrub. So it's just normal salt. You do not need to go to Body Shop and get those, Dead Sea salt scrub, very expensive salt scrub. It was just table salt. And if you do not know, our skin is the largest organ. Sometimes we do not think of the skin as an organ, but our skin is the largest organ. So anyway, mine is skin cancer, right? So usually they will do like normal table salt scrub on our bodies. But that day my therapist hurt her finger. So I think she has a cut. So she needed to wear gloves. Yeah, so because if not, salt will aggravate the wound, right? So what happened is that she happened to wear gloves that day and she was doing salt scrub. And her glove turned yellow. I was so shocked and she's shocked. I think it was toxins coming out from my body. So over 20 days, her glove became less and less yellow until it was like clear. Yeah. So as simple as that, salt scrub, table salt, get the cheapest salt. Yeah, that itself cleanses the body. Yeah. So enema, liver flush, different things. I'm not here to share everything, but I just want to share that God has been so good to my life. I have a cancer that has no cancer marker. I have a cancer that do not have remission, by the way. Melanoma can come back like 10, 20 years later. But I told myself, what is the con of going on a natural therapy anyway? If I am to die either way by having no treatment, then I think I can actively take care of my body. And honestly, I live each day by grace, but I just feel so much better. Yeah, I think after a year, the oncologist and the skin doctor who look at my wound, he said that your 1 year wound looks like a 2-year wound. It looks so mature, and your recovery is just twice as fast as other patients that he has seen. So here's a short testimony of how God has been so good as we go on a natural therapy with all the healing food that are in nature. Okay, over to you, Lynette.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Thanks for sharing your story. Oh my gosh, it was my first time looking at the photos that you shared. It brought tears to my eyes. I can't imagine the how much pain and suffering you've had to go through. 80 stitches. Wow. I'm just so grateful that you're here to share your story with us. And so, just a quick summary: eat more fruits and vegetables, do regular table salt scrub and charcoal poultice. And by the way, this session is also recorded, so you'll have a chance to go back and listen to it again, yeah? And you can also connect with Tammy through our Build Your Child's Natural Defense Telegram chat, and I will stick the link in the chat box below. Okay, moving on now to the next segment, we have our guest speaker, Dr. Chia Eng Hock. And as promised, looking at how he's a picture of health and vitality. Okay, we're going to pull up his picture in just a bit, okay? I can't believe that decades ago, he used to suffer from a debilitating hand condition and chronic fatigue. But somehow he was able to overcome all that pain and suffering through a radical departure from the usual diet. And he also discovered that long distance swimming and running did wonders to restore his health and vitality. It's almost like he stopped aging, okay? Just look at that picture. But before I get too carried away, here's Dr. Chia, who will be sharing with us how we can eat well, stay healthy, and build natural immunity, plus the latest secrets to immune health. Over to you, Dr. Chia.
Screen.
Okay. So this one.
Yes. Previous slide.
Okay.
No, previous slide.
Yeah, because you're not disciplined.
Can I speak now? No.
Yes, yes.
No, previous slide. I speak now. Some 50 years ago, in the United States, President John F. Kennedy launched a fresh and bold initiative, a gift for every child, something so powerful that would radically change the trajectory of their entire lives. However, history got in the way and things did not come to fruition. But this idea was recently resurrected, and I will tell you the amazing story tonight. Okay, I come on now. Yes. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And Happy New Year to everybody. What you have just heard is a trailer to this exciting webinar. Before we begin, I must first thank the organizers for inviting me, and especially Mrs. Tammy Ko for her sharing and being such a wonderful inspiration to all of us. I also extend my appreciation to Mr. Jedidiah Tan and Mrs. Lynette Tan for being such a wonderful and delightful moderator and MC. Grateful thanks also go to the entire team that makes this gathering possible. Let us now start with a few housekeeping routines.
Then share this thing.
Yes. Go back to the screen.
This one. Play. Now.
No. I will do that. No. Yeah, no, don't want. I do this. So first off, the scope of the presentation that is basically to provide educational material for your use. It does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. And given the diversity of the audience, there would be some technical slides, and those that are important, I will make sure that you will be presented in everyday language. How do I get rid of this? There are over 100 slides, so there are more to serve as a reference resource. So do expect a fast and brief pace of presentation and view this as a quick tour of precious resources curated for your constant use. As you will have access to a recording of this talk, you can study some of these very data-dense slides at your own leisure, the graphs and the charts. There's no need for you to take screenshots or photos, but for important slides, time will be given if you may wish to do so. And I'll now give you a moment to take in the QR code through your cell phone or take down the Linktree URL. Give me a week to populate some of these materials for you. So this would be our layout, and we'll start with immune health, the 4 big pictures. Oh, I see. Okay. How can we solve the immunity problem? I think it was Albert Einstein that taught us that if you only have an hour, he would spend 59 minutes defining the problem. So the big picture is important because you will serve our understanding in the long run. And the first picture is this, that there are no quick fixes. If you go around the shops these days, there's no lack of posters telling you to buy this or that supplement for your immunity. But really, there are really no quick fixes. And we are going to go through all the bits and pieces of the puzzle. Immunity is a part and not apart from the rest of the body. So really, we are talking about total health. And with this in mind, there are basically 6 major lifestyle factors. And as you can see, nutrition and exercise is 1 and 2. But maybe during question time, I could elaborate on sleep if you want, because that's really the foundation of everything. And with regard to total health, I think this is important because now we have a means to do an integrated approach for both children's health and that of adults at the same time. And that will be the approach I'll be taking. And also to bear in mind that it's not just about infections, but really it's about everything from cancer, heart disease, and even childhood diseases. And so what's staring at us in the face, the elephant in the room? If you look at this data, it's very obvious. It's all about age. But here we are not talking about a chronological age. There are people over 100 years old, and because of their immunity and other factors, survive quite well. So really it's about reversing aging and reversing biological age. So there's a technical term, immunosenescence, and that's about anti-aging, and we can certainly turn back the clock. And that's because for the first time in human history, we are now able to have very high precision protocols in nutrition, supplementation, as well as exercise as precision health. And to share a slide from a presentation at a medical conference, a 2018 study shows that exercise for more than 30 minutes a day, combined with other lifestyle factors, actually gives you extended lifespan and health span of 10 to 14 years for men and women respectively. And so then, the simplest and most direct way to improve immune health is to reverse aging. And in fact, this is a new paradigm. You may not have heard of it, but be an early adopter. And the amazing thing is when you reverse aging, none of these diseases will come to haunt you. And what diseases? As you can see, after age 40, there's an exponential increase of chronic diseases, from heart attacks to Alzheimer's. And so the new thinking now in geroscience is that if we could reverse aging, then we can take care of everything. Whereas if, for example, we could cure cancer, that would extend average lifespan by only a miserable 3 years. And the idea is to die young as late as possible. And I call this the Moses imperative. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not deep, nor his natural force abated. But what about children? Well, what happens here is that, as you could see, I hope you could see my pointer, that basically from childhood to age 40, we are actually laying the foundation for health or disease in later ages. And also a lot of healthy habits come to way of repetition. So there's also the behavioral health component. So then we have this equation that we need to have good progression of normal growth and development for children, and then anti-aging starting from young adult years. And the third picture is what's new to eating well and staying active. Imagine that if you travel in a time machine, that's how the surgical room looks like. Today is very different. And if you were to wheel into a surgical room of yesterday, I'm sure you hesitate to have your procedure done. So in other words, likewise in nutrition, there are a lot of advances in molecular physiology and artificial intelligence, machine learning. And this is known as nutritional epigenetics and exercise epigenomics. In other words, we're using the food we eat, the exercise we do to program your bad genes for better results. But then the previous 4 components assumes they're all healthy. So in the case of the current situation, as you could see, the other elephant in the room concerns comorbidities. So for children, it's especially worrying that if they have comorbidities, then obviously they will be quite badly affected. So then the last picture is that of deep healing. And I think Dr. Karen Shanks stated this very clearly, that conventional medicine is designed quite brilliantly to save life and address acute symptoms. And make no mistake, for emergency problems like appendicitis and so forth, conventional medicine is the ideal medical model. But this does not work as well for chronic diseases. So it is not so much a case of criticism of conventional medicine, but knowing when its boundary ends. And this is where my chart concerns about wellness, the interplay of these 3 factors. And now for some astounding examples, and we are so glad and grateful to Mrs. Tammy Ko that shared with us in her healing journey. And indeed, a journalist has embarked on a project to document all the cancer patients and others who are exceptional survivors. And then there's Dr. Terry Walls, a professor of medicine, who, when diagnosed with terminal autoimmune disease, incurable, found that she has to turn to something beyond conventional medicine. And she found it in nutrition, as well as some other methods. And interestingly, later on, the diet that I'm going to share would be quite similar to that described by Mrs. Tamiko and also Dr. Terry Walls, except in her case, it is fine-tuned for people with autoimmune diseases. And then this very interesting story in the Straits Times, you can read it for yourself. And I think it's so important that the Chief Justice actually used this story in his address to Singapore Medical Association. And our wonderful body's capacity for healing reminds me of what the psalmist said, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so therefore, I think we need to rethink some of our normal actions, because normality means that you're going to get cancer, heart attack, and dementia sooner or later. So for example, in the case of stroke, hear what this neurologist has to say, that if there's a lifestyle change, he will be out of business very soon. And this is again my slide in a previous conference. The point I'm trying to make is men have gone to the moon and come back. And you know, the cell phone that everyone is holding is more powerful than the supercomputer when it was first invented. So instead of just playing, say, computer games, we should harness this new technology. And do you ever stop dreaming of, have you dreamed of stopping your child's myopia, saying goodbye to flu and colds? And in fact, the last bit is important, because whether you suffer from flu and colds, with mild symptoms or none at all, is a very good indication whether you have to really do something about your immunity. And again, talking about myopia, that lays a foundation for a lot of eye problems, even starting from teenage years. And as for cataracts, you'll be surprised that one of my wonderful eye specialists actually recommended me an eye drop. And then also there are countless peer-reviewed articles that mentions how running could prevent, or if not slow down, the cataracts which is otherwise thought of as being just a result of aging. So then here's the equation. And what could we do? Start doing right away. That's good. And I want to focus on vitamin D as just an example of how important it is to pay special attention. And now we have the quiz, and over to you, I think, Lynette.
Yes, I am here, ready, at the ready. Yes. Okay, so guys, it's quiz time, and we just want to see if you've been paying attention. No, just kidding. So I'm gonna stick a link in the chat box. So go to mentimeter.com and key in this password. And we're gonna answer some questions, and then after that, Dr. Chia will explain the answer to us, okay? So if you can, go to this link. Okay, and answer this question. Go to www.menti.com and then use this code 36282084. And then once you're in, you can answer this question. How many people in the world are deficient in vitamin D? Okay, I'll just give you a few minutes or seconds to answer that question. Okay, we have some answers coming in. How many people in the world are deficient in vitamin D? Well, we have a variety of answers. We've got different answers. Okay. Okay, once again, the link is www.menti.com and the password is 36282084. And the question is, how many people in the world are deficient in vitamin D? Okay, Derek says that the link is not showing in the chat. It's showing now, right? Menti.com, www.menti.com, and then you key in the password 36282084. You're most welcome, Derek. Okay, so how many people in the world are deficient in vitamin D? Okay, we've got 15% of people who think that it's just 10%. And then we've got 38% of people thinking that it's 75%. I wonder if they're right. Okay, do you think it's okay for us to reveal the answer now? Okay, the correct answer is 75%. Wow, 36% of you got it right. Yay, well done. Okay, back to you, Dr. Chia. I think you have to unmute yourself. Dr. Chia, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah, sorry.
That's all right, no worries.
All right, it's wonderful that I think or most of you got the right answer at D. And I think it really shows we really need to take special action. In fact, there was a study of athletes in Singapore. I'll talk about that later. In the meantime, just important information that we are talking in the context of healthy children and adults. So if you do have medical conditions, sometimes it can be a problem to take extra supplementations. They could interact with the drugs they are taking. So do please consult your doctor. All right. So now this is an important study regarding a local study from Singapore General Hospital and Duke NUS Medical School. And they were, as you can see, it's a wonderful, big multidisciplinary team. And they were talking about the importance of vitamin D, magnesium, and vitamin B12. Just a note, B12, there are 4 forms, 2 synthetic, 2 artificial, 2 synthetic, 2 natural. So do take the 2 natural forms and avoid the synthetic forms. And now, even SGH on your Facebook says, time to get some suntan. And I highly recommend at your own time to view what Dr. Manson, Professor of Medicine at Harvard Medical School, has to say about taking this important vitamin to protect against the pandemic. Now, why is this so important? This lays out the molecular mechanism in terms of immunity. And as you can see in this chart, for if you can see my pointer, for to the left, for the asymptomatic patients, they all have sufficient vitamin D, at least above 30 ng/ml. And the point, again, my pointer is at the lower right-hand corner. If you can see that if you want zero deaths occur at a far higher level, that is 50 ng/dl. This is about data in relation to children. You can study that. Data in relation to babies, and just a good summary, except that I disagree with the authors in terms of taking such a high dosage of 4,000 IU for adults, because that's the upper limit for toxicity. So now, I just want to highlight that vitamin levels, trying to increase it presents a dilemma, because it is very difficult to get enough from food. If you have excess, it can be toxic. And at the same time, if you're exposed to the sun, that's wonderful, because the body is designed to have homeostasis through sunlight for vitamin D. In other words, you will not get toxic levels even if you excess sunlight. But then the problem is that excess sunlight causes cancer. And there's a very interesting study presented at a medical conference that I was attending, that at that time is pre-publication, that among Singapore athletes who exercise outdoors during the daytime, and thirdly, without using sunscreen, they were even surprised to find that some of them are deficient in D. And so how can we solve this double dilemma? We are going to go to a deep dive tonight. I just want to emphasize that sunburn and not sunlight is especially dangerous. We need to move from what I call sun phobia to sun protection. And just a note, for infants under 6 months, absolutely no direct or indirect sunlight. Now, in terms of supplementation, try not to do it blindfolded, because it's not how much you take in, but how much your body absorbs, and more important, how much is in your circulating in your bloodstream. So the danger level is anything below 30. For protection, try to bump it up to 60, 50 to 60. And just a few weeks ago, my personal data is 83. And also, it's very important, if you could do your blood test for folate, not folic acid, folate. Yes, folic acid is the synthetic form, because that protects you against skin cancer. It's a relatively new finding. And also, when you do this test, read about biotin interference. Now, vitamin D and children, you need to have some precise dosages to prevent toxic levels. And you can read this for yourself, but the important implication is I think we should use sun exposure for older children, because the body could adjust to avoid toxic levels. The body cannot adjust through food. And avoid taking the synthetic form, use the natural form. And as to dosage, I would recommend for adults about 2000 IU per day, and take it with food and away from K2. And in terms of K2, I think it is something that is not so well known, that vitamin D affects calcium metabolism. And there's a danger that if you have excess calcium in your blood, it will clog up your arteries. So K2 prevents that. And for healthy adults, or like for myself, I'm taking 120 mcg, but it's a blood thinner. So do consult your doctor if you're on medication. And do not take these two together. And for children, it's best to obtain K2 from food. This is a study about D3 and K2. And this is about foods that are high in K1 and K2. I've blocked out the lower three because I'm concerned that there are other side effects that are not so good. And this is a chart to say that besides K2, magnesium is also important. Now, how do we monitor between blood tests? This is a very important app. You can download it. There's a free version for both Android and iPhone. And it also, I'm in communication with the manufacturers. So they have assured me it works for children also, but you need to input the parameters correctly. And most important, do not get sunlight from closed windows and glass, because UVB that's responsible for triggering production of D3, it disappears through the window. At the same time, you get UVA, which causes skin cancer. And this is a screenshot of this app. Basically, you can program it to obtain weather data directly in Singapore. So therefore, it can calculate to a precise degree how much sunlight you should be getting. But most important, it has a burn time warning to prevent skin cancer. And this is the URL because it needs for physiatric skin phototype, because you need to input that. For most Chinese, I would say just to choose a skin type 3. And as to the dosage and time of day, I would actually recommend short exposure when the sun is high up in the sky, but make sure you have adequate eye protection. And interestingly, vitamin D protects against melanoma, the most dangerous form of skin cancer. Folate is very important also. And for those with sun damage, one of the blogs from Harvard Medical School actually recommended 500 mg of niacinamide twice a day. And personally, from time to time, especially when exposed to very bright sunlight, I'm taking 500 mg myself. And when you are buying sunscreen to protect the more sensitive parts like the neck and face, do take a look at the PA value, which is more important than SPF. And also you could use physical sunscreens like broad rim heads and so on. But the most important is that you really need to eat your sunscreen. And the best sunscreen comes from food, in particular organic dark chocolate, and as well as phytonutrients. And I would now introduce a concept of eating in color, that is rainbow nutrition. You need, later on, I'm going to tell why we need to have 5 servings of fruits and 5 servings of vegetables every day. And sunlight is so important that it helps to prevent myopia. The red and infrared rays penetrate deep into the deepest recesses of our brain. It affects one of the most important organ in our body, the endothelium. It's linked to immunity, sleep, blood pressure, bone mineral density, mental health, depression, cancer, the entire lot. So sunlight is really, really important. And now back to precise dosing for children. You can study these important quotes for yourself. And now we move on more generally to what does it mean to eat well. And here now we have a quiz again, and I'll pass you to our wonderful MC.
Hello, it's Lynette again, and it's quiz time. Yes. So just click on the link in the chat box, or you can open your browser and just type in menti.com, menti.com, and then you have to key in a password, okay? Or if you're already there, very good. If not, the password is 36282084. Which of the following is not healthy? And the options are fruit juices, brown rice, whole grain bread, white mushrooms, or all of the above. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes, a couple more minutes to key in your option. Wow, fruit juices so high. Which of the following is not healthy? Okay, it does nothing to improve your health. Is it fruit juices? Is it brown rice, whole grain bread, white mushrooms, or all of the above? It's a little bit tricky. That's all the hint I'll give you. Okay, just a little while more. Oh, it's interesting that nobody chose brown rice. Yeah, because you know, usually when you tell people don't eat rice, oh, then they'll say, oh, then I'll eat brown rice. So, Okay, are we ready to go? Are we ready to show the answer? The answer is all of the above. I did try to hint you. All of the above. Okay, so over to you, Dr. Chia.
Thank you so much, Lynette. So I hope most of you are not surprised, or rather most of you might be surprised at the answer. So please allow me to explain a little. I think it's the B, C, and D that is maybe a bit, that requires some explanation. So, well, in terms of brown rice, the mainstream media might have not highlighted this, that basically 2 bowls of rice, and brown rice is worse than white rice, will put you above the toxic level of a heavy metal called arsenic by WHO standards. And in fact, the American Pediatric Association have warned parents there not to feed their young children rice cereals. And then again, 1 bowl of rice is equivalent to 2 cans of soda. So can you imagine, like, if you're a very hungry child, eat 4 bowls of rice, then every day you're in fact feeding him or her 8 cans of high sugary drinks. And as for C, I'll skip C first. I'll come to white mushrooms. Basically, all mushrooms are very good, but try to go with brown mushrooms, because white mushrooms, unless fully cooked, contain some natural carcinogens. So now back to bread. The bread that we're currently eating is not like the ancient bread. So for example, there's a wonderful bread by the name of Ezekiel bread, and that is really healthy, and it comes from a recipe from the book of the same name. And as you can see, cardiologist and renowned author Dr. William Davies has this to say, that basically wheat is very bad. The current crop of wheat-based products is very bad for health, and you can take a look at both his website as well as his book. So then, this is a prelude to what I want to say about eating well. Before that, the discordance hypothesis basically says that our current diet is totally out of sync with our genome. And therefore, we are getting all these diseases of civilization. So a genome-friendly diet has 4 components. The first is a plant-rich diet. And I think Mrs. Tamiko has shared with us her personal experience. And the second is, again, I think she has shared the importance of raw food. I would add water-based cooking and also possibly, if possible, organic food. And there's something not so well known about organic food, that actually it causes nitrosamine poisoning, and then that's responsible for a whole host of diseases. And you can read that for yourself. And also pay attention, especially to high nitrate vegetables like lettuce. And the third component is phytonutrients. That again, we need 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. And a serving is not what you think. Basically, it's not like the few leaves inside your burger. A serving is something like a bowl of broccoli. So therefore, 5 servings of vegetables is actually quite a bit. And then we should, as far as possible, rely on nutraceuticals or natural herbs and supplements rather than single component pharmaceuticals. And again, a very something interesting finding, that I think there was a study that showed people who take multivitamins actually have shorter lives. So it's important to take food-based vitamins. And another important point is that, especially for older adults, we do need adequate intake of minerals and vitamins, especially at this time. And again, this is a local study from NUS, as well as the Center for Infectious Disease, also NUS, and you can read that for yourself. And this is a chart to show you that if the relationship of the current problems in relation to micronutrient supplementation. So then, why we need so much phytonutrients, plant-based food, is because they are the main supply of micronutrients. And what we need in terms of nutrition is actually not recipes, but nutrition training, as in exercise training. And sustainable weight control comes from good nutrition exercise. You must not kind of think of exercise as, oh dear, I've eaten this junk food. Now I need to go to run for an hour to counterbalance the calories. So the key to weight control is a rejuvenated satiety and hunger sensor in your body. And dieting is pointless. Basically, it doesn't work. Why feel hungry and miserable? Total health blooms when your body's natural hunger for exercise is greater than your hunger for food. And now we move on quickly to about staying active. And here, I pass it back to our MC for the quiz.
Okay, yes, I really enjoy these quiz sessions. It's a chance to find out what we know and what we don't know. Okay, so let's go to menti.com again, and this time use the code 98409726. And let's answer this question. Is this the best way of lifting a heavy object? Is this the best way of lifting a heavy object? Okay, the link is in the chat box, www.menti.com, and the password is 98409726. Is this the best way of lifting a heavy object? Looks alright to me. But you know, the answer is almost like 50-50. But we'll wait for a few more people to weigh in before we reveal the answer. Okay, 50% say no. No, 57. Wow, it's climbing. Is it yes? Is it no? But what is option 3? Okay. 50% say no, 30% say yes, and 20% is choosing otherwise. Okay. Dr. Chia, would you be able to tell us what option 3 is? I'm just curious because I can't seem to find the answer anywhere.
Oh no, I think I wanted yes or no, no option 3.
Oh, okay, there's no option 3. Okay, so people don't choose option 3, okay? Option 3 should be
In
0.
fact, I was amazed why it's option 3 myself. Thank you.
Thanks. I just wanted to clarify because I wasn't sure. Okay, so don't choose option 3, okay? It's a dud. So you can choose either yes or you can choose no. And what is the answer? Can I have a quick look at the answer? Okay, Dr. Chia, it's back to you. I think more people chose yes, or was it no? I think no. More people chose no.
So how
maybe
many
you can tell
percent
us
no? How
why.
many percent yes? How many percent no? How many percent yes?
45 chose yes, and 36 chose no.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let me share screen again.
Yes, please.
Sorry, just wait a while.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, thanks for waiting. All right, here's the reason for the answer. That basically, I did not ask whether it is safe. I'm asked which is the best. So basically, if you're lifting a heavy object, you need to use what we call a hip hinge, which means you do not bend your knees because the knees are a weak point in the body. Whereas if you bend your hips, they're using the strongest muscles in your body. So this is just an illustration to show that exercise is not just about like keeping fit. Movement and other things are important. And so therefore now we're going to move on to what really staying active is about. That basically there are 4 components. And the first is workout in nature. And I just want to highlight something called ecotherapy is terribly important, especially for mental health. And in fact, they have found that for people who are depressed, even those with major and acute severe depression, ecotherapy is very important. And for children, we need to rescue them from what I call nature deficit disorder. Now, the other very important thing is that exercise is not just for the body, is more important is for the mind. And here we can differentiate between cognitive health in terms of thinking, learning, memory, and mental health in terms of emotional health. And I just want to highlight, again, if you can see my pointer, the third item, neurobiophilia, that is a new science relating to immersion in nature. And very interestingly, there's something called happiness-based training. And maybe you can remind me, I can elaborate more during question time. We have to move on. And so you can read these 2 important articles, why for the child's developing brain, exercise is so very important. And for those who are older, there's this incredible shrinking brain, and only exercise can rescue us from that. And again, it is far more effective than taking medication for depression. And the first article is written by a Canadian professor of medicine. The second is a multidisciplinary team that reviews all the literature pertaining to exercise for children. And this is very important because in the US, children as young as 12 years old, unbelievable, has started taking antidepressants. And another major factor is, as highlighted by our quiz, that movement fluency is also very important. In fact, it's a gateway to physical freedom of expression with the athlete as movement artist, composer, and innovator. And again, it drives away all our pains, aches, and illnesses. Now, I come to my favorite topic, so do give me just a few minutes. With so many of my friends and relatives tragedy, suffering from heart attack, I feel really we need to do something about it. It's just plain tragic because it happens, the damage is already done. So our heart is like a rubber band, and just as a string, just as the brain strings with age, the heart hardens even starting from the early 20s. And so we need to train the heart as a special muscle. And the most important thing here is to train the muscles to go fast, but the heart that goes slow, something that's not frequently recognized. So for example, there's a hypothesis that we're given about 1 billion heartbeats for an entire lifetime. If you use that up, that's the end. So the lower the heart rate, the better, within normal limits. And why is this so important? Perhaps I could just illustrate. If you were to climb up 20 floors, if you are fit, then your heart rate should be beating quite slowly until maybe you reach the 12th or 13th floor. And it should be just a very easy climb. And then again, swimming in the ocean, that should be like a walk in the garden. And something amazing. Imagine if you walk to the bank and tell the teller, I'm going to put $1. When will I receive $7 back in investment? Do you know for every hour you spend running, you will lengthen your life by 7 hours? And here's something less formal and games for children. And just a detailed note about sports injury that I think is very important to prevent that. And the reason is because you want to preserve all body parts, especially the knee, so that you can engage in very vigorous exercise in old age. For example, this is the heart rate taken every second for uphill sprinting. And you need that kind of exercise to maintain the elasticity of the heart at all ages. I will have to leave these two for you to read, but I think they are very, very important. For example, it's not well known that 1 in 500 children have this disorder, and death is often the first and only warning sign. And as for adults, as a first responder, I can tell you there's a reason why there's so many defibrillators around, and even with its use, the prognosis is not very good. So now we come to the final section, that what if we can give every child the chance to train like youth athlete? And it goes back to our introduction, and now the moderator will play a short trailer to this film.
If we don't turn this around, This generation will be the first in the history of our country to not live as long as their moms and dads.
Ready up! Class 10 foot! We were given a gift 50 years ago that made our lives better.
This is a challenge for us all.
I practiced this program from middle school all the way through high school.
That this will spread to every school district in the United States. That all of us will participate, and in so doing will be better citizens and happier ones.
I was hired in '82 by the 76ers as the very first ever in the history of professional basketball full-time strength and conditioning coach. Dr. J and Moses Malone. And in my first year, we won the world championship with them.
Point to any part of your body and we'll start quoting literature, medical studies, into the tens of thousands of articles about the benefits of exercise.
Exercise grows the hippocampal parts of your brain that's important for your memory.
I could see a difference from when I didn't do exercise before teaching reading and when I did do exercise before teaching.
The more fit the kids are, the better they're doing in school.
So I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I was raised by a single mother.
Grew up in inner city, single parent household. My mom didn't have time to get us involved with sports. My activity level, once it dwindled, I filled that with video games and TV, and my grades went from A/B to down to DF.
It's about how do you make the best learner.
Once we see that, you need some forward-thinking schools that are willing to basically restore what we once had, which was mandatory physical fitness.
83% drop in discipline problems from one semester to another, just with that introduction.
I didn't find that there was much racism when you're playing sports.
We saw that racism and gang affiliations stopped at the locker room door.
Doing something together is huge, and exercise is something that has the ability to unite.
That was the beauty of the program. It was designed to benefit all of the students, not just a few.
I have dealt with bullying in the past, like in elementary, but not here at Prescott.
We're in it together. Our motto is all for one for all.
The training I had was at the root of all of my success.
Every day you were met with these challenges.
Just loved being challenged every day. Climbing the rope was, God, it was super.
And we always wore shirts, unlike the guys, so.
It helps you grow stronger mentally and physically.
It helps children how they can be successful in life.
Like, it pushes you to your limits that you didn't know you had, and so it makes you really determined to finish what you want to finish.
What we found with our physicians is 80% of them had undiagnosed medical problems, and we've seen almost all of that disappear with this activities.
People don't realize what PE was. They don't understand that physical education could do all those things.
It's got to turn around.
It all comes down to the individual. Can you make an individual love being healthy? That's, I think, the secret to all of it.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little trailer. That the central message basically is what entrepreneur Jim Rohn has said. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And John F. Kennedy says that physical fitness is the basis of all other forms of excellence. And there's a new field called psychoneuroimmunology, and it's the new key factor for immune health. So really, we're not talking about formal sports or athletic training. It's about turning exercise into a delight-driven hobby and then making physical exertion comfortable without labor breathing, realizing that all we have is one body to carry us through all of life. And staying active goes far beyond exercise or sports. It's just as nutrition should embrace gastronomic delight. Discover the joy of movement, celebrate the human form in motion. The fitness journey and movement mastery is like a hike up the mountain. So once you go above the tree line, you see the beauty of the meadows. It reminds you that wellness is the sweet, sweet inner music of the run. A rejuvenated body is a wonder to enjoy. So now we'll move on to the next and the last video.
Hi, and thank you for watching this short and insightful video that can change the way you move your body from now on. Do you know that every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in the emergency room following a fall? And 1 in 5 falls results in a fracture, concussion, or other serious injury. Before you start saying to yourself, well, that's unlikely to happen to me, or I am too young to even think about that. Wait. You may have participated in some exercise and wellness programs. That's all good, but that's not the point. Then, what is? Ever heard of movement literacy? You might have already guessed that movement literacy has something to do with physical fitness. But more than that, it is about moving well before moving more. We call that musculoskeletal fitness, which is a measure of your movement health. It is the sum total of many things, including muscle strength, posture, flexibility, balance, the correct way to walk and run, even bone mineral density. And this is important to all of us, young and old. Research has shown that musculoskeletal health and physical fitness is linked to the following: health and lifespan, motivation for fitness, low back pain, common knee problems, expensive absenteeism and long medical leave, sports and workout injuries, prevention of chronic diseases, fall prevention in the elderly, athletic performance, and the new 21st century physical education. Now you can see why it is important for us to move well before moving more. Let's say you want to intensify your exercise routine from walking to jogging, or increase your running distance from 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers, or begin some strength training by carrying weights. How do you know whether you are likely to sustain injuries, accidents, and falls? We have a diagnostic test called the sitting rising test, which is a popular test worldwide. This is how the sitting rising test, or SRT, works. First, from a standing position, you lower yourself to sit in a cross-legged sitting position. Then, you rise up to the standing position again. More importantly, we have introduced a new innovation that brings this valuable diagnostics to the next level for individuals and organizations. Using our proprietary Kinetic Coach automated training response solution, we can track how well you move your body in executing the SRT. A score will be given that is indicative of your musculoskeletal health. This result can be used to provide guidance to help you improve your musculoskeletal health and hence reduce the likelihood of fall-related injuries as you age. With Kinetic Coach, this test becomes fast and automated for large-scale mass screening and company-wide and public health promotion, simple, objective, and affordable with computer scoring, with little need for in-house expertise, more valuable with individualized feedback and visual archival recording, a new tool for medical research and public policy studies, Use the SRT to help improve your musculoskeletal health, whether for yourself as individuals, for your employees, or your clients and customers. The SRT diagnostics is part of our Move Better program, which is the world's first evidence-based injury prevention and fall prevention program for all ages, with wearable free biosensor for mass screening and machine-enhanced individualized coaching. For the next chapter in your health journey, start a conversation with us today.
So now we'll continue with the last few slides. That basically the central message of this section is that if you maximize the body you have, then it touches everything else in your life. Therefore, harness your precious genetic heritage. All children are born artists until they grow up. All children are born athletes until they grow up. How sad. Don't let this happen. Change your habits, change your life. The revolution today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Chia. That was a really comprehensive sharing of your perspectives and invaluable information, I'm sure, for all our participants. So I'm just very mindful of time. Maybe we can have maybe about 10 to 15 minutes max for a quick round of Q&A. So what I can maybe, first of all, I want to thank parents for having, or registrants as well, participants having, post some of your questions. So I hope you managed to find some of your answers in the presentation, the very good presentation Dr. Chia gave us earlier. And Dr. Chia, maybe I can start off with one question that was very resonant with parents or the participants, right? And then we'll also open this time, parents, on the chat. Please feel free to post your questions. If you feel that you haven't got your answers yet, feel free to do so. But I'll encourage all of us to focus our questions on issues relating to Dr. Chia's presentation and focus, as well on areas that are to do with natural immunity. Yeah, right? So maybe Dr. Chia, for my first question, right? Tammy shared her personal journey and how she came to rely quite heavily on eating the right foods as a very key strategy in her process of recovery. So I'm just wondering, right, can we ever obtain a good enough balance of nutrition from our diet alone, right? How do we select the food we eat, the kind of food we eat? And therefore, are supplements really necessary? Related to that, if supplements are necessary, what are the supplements that we really need to augment our diet of natural foods? Over to you, Dr. Chia.
Yeah, thank you. I think what happens is we must know that I think it's best to get everything from food, but unfortunately, given the current situation with industrial agriculture, heavy use of synthetic fertilizers, depletion of soil resources, the current day soil is really very poor. So to get enough of some micronutrients from food is really quite difficult. So I would suggest judicious use of food-based natural nutraceuticals. And I think in one of my slides, I point out, I gave a web link to the University of Oregon Linus Pauling Center for Micronutrients. So we don't have time to cover all of that, but I think I just want to highlight one thing besides vitamin D, and that is zinc. So you can go and take a look for that. And in connection with that, I recommend that perhaps on a weekly basis, have a dish, you and your child, of oysters, preferably not the fried kind. I think that could summarize what the key point I want to come across. And thanks a lot for bringing this up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chia. I think we're all guilty of having fried oysters as one of our key favorite hawker foods. So terribly guilty.
But I think fried oyster is better than no oysters. Seriously.
Okay, so the point being made by Dr. Chia is better oysters than not, better not fried than fried.
Yes.
So I'll leave everyone to make the deductive reasoning as to what is best. Dr. Chia has spoken. Dr. Chia, I think there are some very practical questions as well, or maybe a clarification from one of our parents, right?
Yes, please
I
go
think they were asking whether, they were under the impression that actually it is necessary to consume vitamin D together with K2 to enhance or optimize absorption. I think our parent would like to confirm that we should not mix or not, or otherwise.
All right, if you take a look at my slide again, I'm trying to make the point that just D alone, especially for adults, could be problematic because you may end up with calcium being deposited in your arteries and clogging it up, leading to cardiovascular diseases. And so K2 helps. But then perhaps it's a little confusing. When you take K2, not the food kind, but the supplement form for adults, and I would recommend the supplement form for adults because adults are a lot more prone to calcification of arterial plaque. You cannot take them together because they are antagonistic to each other in terms of bioavailability. So both of them are oil-based, fat-soluble vitamins. So you should take them with some good fats like avocados, but take them separately. And because multivitamins do contain vitamin D, but not usually vitamin K, so you need also to take your multivit separate from K2. So maybe as a tip for myself, I take K2 in the morning because I take D and multivit at night with dinner. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chia. I hope the parent who was asking this question found that beneficial as well. Now, Dr. Chia, the mere mention of food makes me hungry. So another question on food, right? Very practical one, and it's great. So I think the participant wanted to find out a little bit more your thoughts on brown rice versus black rice. And a related question to food is what would be an appropriate substitute for wheat bread? So the assumption is that maybe sourdough can be a better alternative, right? So two questions here. Your thoughts about brown rice, black rice, which is better, more nutritious for young kids? And the other one is, what is a good substitute for wheat bread? Over to you, Dr. Chia.
Thank you. I think in terms of rice, as I've explained earlier, I think both are bad. So we should avoid rice and all grains. Grains meaning the seed of cereals, the seed of grass, of plants in the grass family. So like even healthy, so-called healthy quinoa, and so on. And as for wheat-based bread, I think if you cannot not subsist on bread, then I would recommend that either you use a recipe for Ezekiel bread, bake that bread yourself, or else it is commercially available in Singapore. So the next question is, sorry, I think I missed. The next question is about wheat, right? No, a substitute for wheat and rice. Okay, so the best is do away with all the grains, including wheat, pasta, noodles, and everything. And that may sound rather drastic, but you can actually feel quite full with starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, pumpkins. Those are highly nutritious, and they also are quite high calorie food for growing children. And if you notice, Okinawa, the place where there are many long-lived centenarians, they actually, unlike in mainland Japan, they eat sweet potatoes mainly instead of rice. And then again, there's an island called Kitava in the middle of the Pacific Ocean of Papua New Guinea. And they actually found that their staple diet being sweet potatoes, they're in the best of health, no clogged arteries, heart attacks, etc., even in old age. So I think I hope I've answered the question. And I think sweet potato is the best because other root crops like yam and so on, they are very high in calorie, high in starch, but low in nutrients. Whereas sweet potato actually is very rich in beta carotene and other nutrients.
Thanks so much, Dr. Chia. Could I therefore clarify that you recommend sweet potatoes, but obviously do away with the fried ones?
Yes, yes. And also maybe just to share a tip personally, in order to have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, I find that I have no more stomach even for sweet potatoes. So really, you can feel very full without any starchy vegetables, without any grains.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Chia. Maybe one final question, just mindful of everyone's time. It is a Sunday evening, and of course of Dr. Chia's time as well. Now, Dr. Chia, this is a question that came up several times during the registration, so I'm going to bucket it all together, right? Could we maybe seek your advice on how do we sort of look at a proper way of detoxing? Now, I know the word detox can be interpreted many different ways, but I think we are mindful of the fact that, we are now exposed to a lot more processed foods. And there's also been a recent spotlight on a lot of cultured meats, lab-grown meats, medicines, other environmental factors. So what are some practical things our parents can do for themselves as well as for their children to actually detox them? Maybe you could share your views on that.
Yes, I would love to. Because I think detox is now very highly promoted in wellness circles, and also consumers being exposed to so much air pollution, high pesticide crops, and so on. They're very interested. So I would say that unfortunately, 2 things here. One is that there's not sufficient evidence of detox, and also detox is a very broad word, but in the wellness circle, it's mainly used to denote some kind of special fruit juicing kind of stuff, liquid diet. So if I may say that if that is the case, then certainly there wouldn't be any harm, and it might even help you to lose some weight. But I think it would not achieve the aim. And that comes to my second point, that for example, say you're exposed to some poisonous fumes in a factory. There cannot be a general kind of detox. It has to be very specific. What toxin are you exposed to? What illness are you having? And this is quite important. For example, there's a Canadian doctor that devoted an entire book on toxins just by staying indoors in your house. So it's actually quite complex. But to summarize, I think I would give a few rules. The first, I think the most important is just to avoid all the toxins. So for example, according to WHO standards, again, a lot of times the indoor PM 2.5 here is actually above the safe limit. So I would say just at least for 8 hours when you sleep, get a good PM 2.5 air filter and just avoid the toxin. The second thing is that the body itself is a wonderful detox machine, and therefore I think we need to support it. So for example, the liver, is very important, and so with all the good nutrition plan that I've outlined, your own body should be able to detox most of the toxins. For example, it has been found that broccoli actually protects against lung cancer. And again, talking about that, I just want quickly, even though I'm mindful of the time, that for sake of the audience, some people think like, avoid fruits and just focus on vegetables because fruits are just too sweet. But actually, if fruits are also important in themselves, because like in certain cases, like protection against lung cancer, they found that you cannot do so without just vegetables. So you do have that 5+5 formula. And the third thing is the most important thing is with the obesity crisis. Do you know the best thing you could detox is remove your abdominal fat? Sorry to say this, but like a flat belly and a six-pack is not just for aesthetics, but really helps to give you boundless energy and help you to stay in radiant health. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Chia. I think when you were talking about the belly, I felt quite guilty. My wife would attest. Anyway, thanks so much, Dr. Chia. Is there a resource that parents can refer to when they want to learn a little bit more about detoxing? Is there a link they can refer to?
Oh yes, I think I have given the team a wonderful link from Cleveland Clinic. But again, I will refer back to the Micronutrient Center at University of Oregon, because that has more resources. So could you put up the Cleveland Clinic link? Cleveland Clinic is one of the leading hospital systems in the United States and the world. So if you can put up that link, because it's not in my slides.
Well, we've done so, Dr. Chia.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Yep. So thanks again, parents, for joining us this evening at the Eat Well, Stay Active, Build Your Natural Immunity webinar with Dr. Chia. We hope you've enjoyed the program, the webinar, as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. And if you like a recording of tonight's session, we will be happy to share it when it's produced after tonight. And you know, this is a really good opportunity for you to share it with your family and friends, especially if you've got young kids from 5 to 11. I want to just say this for you know, to encourage parents to do things preemptively, defensively. There are natural ways of building your child's defense, right? So once again, thanks so much, parents. Do have a pleasant evening. The organizers will just stay on for a few more minutes, and Dr. Chia as well. If you have any further questions, feel free to chat with us after this. Otherwise, thanks so much again for joining us.